So
What
you
is,
see me and you hear me now?
I can see you
All
very
right.
well.
Okay. Cool.
So
How
how
you
was
doing,
it?
Keith?
I'm doing good, Prophet.
I'm,
How are you so far today?
I'm doing good. I've never done a Zoom interview before.
Ah,
To figure it out. I can't even believe we got the background to work.
oh yeah, that's cool. That looks cool.
Yeah, it's my band. See,
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome.
bunch of handsome guys.
Sounds good, sounds good. So, Prophet, early March
Yes.
this year, you released your second project, that is Prophet and the Cowboys of the Apocalypse. So you released this
Yeah.
album, Last Days of Paradise. So can you tell me a bit about the songwriting and production you put behind this album?
Well, we had put out a first album before that in 2010.
Mhm.
And basically, I've been doing heavy metal music now since 1982. But I've always loved many different styles of music, and I still love Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and
Yeah.
outlaw country type stuff and some acoustic stuff. I fell in love with the Bruce Springsteen album called Nebraska. It was all
Yeah.
acoustic back when
Yeah.
I was back in the 80s.
Oh,
So after all these years, I just always wondered if I could make a record like that, along those lines.
yeah.
In 2010, we made an album called The Edge, and it actually received the Phoenix Music Award for Record of the Year.
Mhm.
And so then I got busy with Saint Madness again. And what's interesting about The Edge is when we wrote it, I was going through cancer and chemotherapy. And when we recorded it, my mother was dying from ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. So it was a very hard album to make. So that's part of why I've waited 11 years to put out the second one, which is now called Last Days in Paradise. And it's an amazing record, but there is a lot of pain on the record because the title cut Last Days in Paradise is about how I felt when I had to sell my parents' house because they were no longer here. And then the next song after that is called Kate. And that was dedicated to my sister who was dying from stage 4 lung cancer when we recorded it. And she passed away in March of 2020. And the last song on the album, there's a bonus track called In Memory of Scotty.
Yeah.
That was the very first song I ever wrote in my life. And we recorded it and released it in 1981, so 40 years ago. And that was also written for a close family friend who had passed away. So I thought, it's been 40 years since my first song, and I thought it would be a nice bonus track for this album. And it's just piano vocal, but I wrote and recorded that song with a man named Kevin McConnell, who was at the time 17, and I was 18. And so it's an incredible record. Um, I've got to work with some amazing people on it. There's 17 different people on this new album. And it's just something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Heavy metal for me, it will always be my number one because that's what I've done my whole life. But the thing is about acoustic albums, especially when you're a singer, you can't hide behind a lot of effects or a loud music, or it's pretty stripped down. So in a way, it's a little more heartfelt for me, where the emotion is truly, truly there, and I'm really, really proud of it. We released it digitally in March
Mm.
of 2021, and I just got a bunch of CDs made, and they have beautiful booklets and stuff like that. If you send me your address privately, I'll send you a copy in the mail.
Sounds good, sounds good. Thank you. And
And I'll send you the current Saint Madness album too. I'll send you both records so you
awesome.
can compare them.
Thank you, Prophet. And thank Prophet. Firstly, I'm sorry for whatever you have went through, like the passing of your mother, your sister, and your dear friend in December, late December. So I'm really sorry about that. I really hope things get better for you. And and I know it was released well time your mother passed away, and it's been 10 years has passed since that. And what took that so long for you to come up with another album with this band?
Okay, so here's what's really cool about this though. When my mother passed away, she died in November of 2008. And we had started recording the first one and writing it in 2006, but I didn't release it until 2009. And that's the one that got the Record of the Year award.
Wow.
After my mother died in '08, I had started writing, because I'm the lyricist for both bands. So I had started writing songs right after she had died because I had all this emotion in me and I didn't know what to do with it. I was brokenhearted. And so I actually wrote the lyrics to Cowboys of Apocalypse and Ghosts on the Trail. And I also wrote Last Days in Paradise. I wrote those lyrics way back in 2008 and 2009, but I knew they weren't right for Saint Madness. So I just put them in a book and put them on a shelf. So Saint Madness got really busy for a lot of years. And then here in the past, probably 3 years, I think we started in 2018, we started working on Last Days in Paradise. I said to my guitar player, Sid, I'm like, do you have any interest in writing and recording an acoustic album like the one I did 10 years ago? And he's like, hell yeah, let's do it. So the difference is Saint Madness is a set band of 5 guys. Prophet and the Cowboys, I bring in anybody. I mean, if you played a mandolin or any instrument, I would say to you, hey, Keith, you want to come in and play on 4 songs? So with the Last Days in Paradise, I have all different kinds of musicians. The violinist on the album, he plays with symphonies and stuff like that, and he's a good friend. I smoke cigars, and so I met the violinist in a cigar shop one time, and we started talking about music. And I said, you know, I could use a violinist, and he's like, I'd love to do it. And so he played on 4 songs.
Wow.
And that's what's fun about this kind of record. I can bring literally anybody in and make them part of the album.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And what was the concept that you have set behind this album?
Well, really just to have a real Southwestern Arizona Americana feel, you know, completely different from this and the heavy metal. Just something really roots and down to earth and simple with lots of emotion, with lyrics that kind of take you, like some of the songs kind of take you on a journey in a way, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, so I love adding in sound effects and samples, and I love that because it like makes the music intentional, whereas extra ambience and extra feelings and you know, Saint Madness has 11 albums out, and now Prophet and the Cowboys has 2, and I produced all of them. And I have a co-producer that I work with named Larry Elia, and he owns it's called Mind's Eye Digital Studios here in Phoenix. And I've worked with him on out of the all the albums, 13, I'd say there's like 2 or 3 that he didn't take part in. But all the rest of it, at least 10 albums, I've worked with him. And he knows. I walk in there, he knows exactly what I'm going for. And so this kind of album is just, I wanted to create something that people could sit down, close their eyes, and have the music kind of take them away.
Yes,
I hope you did.
yes. And listening to the album, the entire album is really awesome, and it is like easy to listen to, and it makes you feel good. Although the album sounds a bit emotional and melancholic,
Yeah.
and it has the lyrics has a deep meaning, and it touches it can touch anybody. Like I know it is all personal in your life that has happened, and you have written it down, and I know that's so special to you. And I think a lot of people will try to understand the meanings, and they will like it much more better than what they used to. So can you tell me a bit about the album in its entirety?
It's like I appreciate artists that write songs that are kind of like stories, that tell stories.
Yes.
Those are my favorite kind of things. And like I said, this one was just to be, I wanted to be completely honest about all my feelings and everything, and to tell the truth. And it was funny because after my mother died, I mean, these lyrics just kept pouring out of me. I didn't know what to, like I said, I didn't know what to do with my emotions. You know, I was brokenhearted, so I just kept writing and writing and writing. And And all this stuff came out, and I thought, gosh, I'll probably never do anything with it because, St. Madness is busy. But in 2018, we came up with a slow period of time there. And so we started writing more songs, and lo and behold, believe it or not, all the guys in the picture behind me, all 5 of them took part in the Prophet and the Cowboys album and wrote some of the songs with me and recorded. And so all the guys in St. Madness are in there, and then extra friends who are in other bands or musicians or what have you. They're all just really good friends. And, when I found out my sister was dying, the song Kate, it was just out of the blue. She said, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, what? And she said, I was just diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And when it's stage 4, that pretty much means you're not going to make it, And it was like being knocked over by a sledgehammer. So the next day I met with Sid, my guitar player for St. Madness, and I told him what was happening, and I wrote lyrics. And it was like 2 days after she told me it, we went to his house and recorded a rough version of the song because he has a Pro Tools set up in his house. And I had figured that those vocals would be the scratch vocals. And for people who don't know, scratch vocals are what you do. You come in the studio and you sing it just to get the timing of everything. And then you erase those vocals. And then after all the instruments are added in, you come back in and you re-sing it, and it's your final vocals. Well, I was literally crying when I sang that song at Sid's house. And when we went in the studio, I tried re-singing it, and I probably could have sang it even better in some ways, but the emotion was on the original scratch track. So we actually lifted the original scratch track from the original recording and put it in the song. And I was crying when I sang it, My sister got to hear the song in a rough mix. She never got to hear the final mixed and mastered version, but she did hear with all the instruments and the rough mix, and it made her cry. That song is a little brother singing to his big sister and just thanking her, because so many times in my life, in 1984, I had spinal meningitis. I almost died. And I was in a coma for 2 days, or a semi-coma. And when I woke up, the first person I saw was my sister sitting there smiling, looking at me. And I was a drug addict and alcoholic. I was addicted to cocaine and crystal meth, and a lot of that's from being in bands for so many years. I kind of ran wild for a long time. And in 1990, I got clean and sober. I haven't had a drink of alcohol since 1990. And my sister was the one. She was living in Missouri at the time, and I called her. I said, I've lost everything. I can't stop doing drugs, and nobody wants to be around me anymore. And she said, if you can find a way to come to Missouri, I have friends that can help you go to treatment if you're serious. And I had to go to my parents, and I had to ask them for a plane ticket because I was broke. And whenever I had money, I ran and bought drugs. And my parents got me the plane ticket, and I went to Missouri, and I went to treatment, and I stayed there 6 months because I was afraid to come back to Phoenix because everybody I knew here was either a criminal or a drug addict, and I thought I have no chance of staying clean. So I stayed there for 6 months, and my sister made it all possible, and it helped save my life, And so I put all that in the song. And it's done in a way, like I said, of a little brother talking to his big sister, even though I'm a full-grown man now. But I was just trying to say thank you. So many times you've saved me and you helped me, and now I couldn't help her. All I could do is love her and write her a song. So that's what I did. With all my music, that's the way it is. I write from my heart, and I write songs for people that I care about, even in St. Madness, I have songs I have two sons, and then my girl that I've been with 26 years, she had 2 sons before me. And the youngest, he passed away on July 3rd in 2016 from a drug overdose. And we wrote him a song. It's on the current St. Madness album called He's Riding a Harley in Heaven. And I've got songs written for Margie, my girl, who also manages both bands. And I have songs for my mom. I have songs for my stepdad. I have songs for almost everybody that's really close to me on all these different albums, you know.
Yeah.
And it just makes it real for me, you know. And I love it. I mean, the best thing I can give somebody is a song from my heart.
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Prophet, like in this particular album, like you put up a cover of Billy Idol's White Wedding. So what was the idea of bringing Billy's song into the album?
Okay, so I started in heavy metal about 82.
Mm.
And right around there, maybe a year or two later is when he came out with White Wedding.
Yeah.
And was the first heavy rock / metal band that I ever put together back then.
Mm.
We had always joked about doing White Wedding because we all liked the song, but I never did it, never recorded it. And then just out of the blue, I said to Sid, you think we could play something like White Wedding acoustically? And he goes, yeah, I'll bet we could. So we sat down, we did. I thought it came out amazing,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
is.
and we gave it kind of a cowboy flavor, you know, which is very different from Billy's because he's English and it was kind of pop rock, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And but we gave it that Southwestern flavor, and I'm really proud of it.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
I love
And
Billy Idol's music. I love his music.
he's a brilliant artist, I would say.
Yeah,
It sounds good.
I'm very open-minded musically. I like all kinds of stuff, you know, everything from classical music to hip hop
Yeah.
to heavy metal and Frank Sinatra and all that. It doesn't matter. You know, to me, music is like it's the language of the soul. And I try not to be too critical of anybody's music because that's their art, you know.
Yes,
I try to just enjoy it.
that's the art of music. Like a real
Yeah,
musician understand others' music as well and appreciate each one's works. So that's a good thing
yes.
that you said. Thank you.
And you
And
know what? I can learn something good from anybody, you
oh,
know.
yeah,
If I don't be critical and I open my mind and I listen from my heart, I can learn something good from literally anybody. And I know that, and that's how I try to live my life.
it's beautiful, Prophet. And I know like a lot of things has been happening to you in your life, like a lot of loved ones passing away from your life, and you also had your cancer and you're out of it now. And how are you coping up with all these things? How's your life now? How are you feeling now?
I'm not feeling too bad. I'll tell you another thing. I was born with a really rare blood disease. If you ever heard the story of the boy in the plastic bubble,
Mm.
it's autoimmune deficiency of the blood, and it was in my family. And they discovered it when I was 8 years old. And when they found it, the doctors went to my parents and they said, we're sorry, but children born with this don't generally survive. And you'll be lucky if Patrick is a teenager. So every time and I was sick all the time as a kid. So every time I was sick, my mom and stepdad, my sister, always worried, you know, because I was in and out of hospitals and countless pneumonias. And I had accepted that I would probably be the first one to die in the family. Oddly enough, my mom and my stepdad, my sister have all passed on, and I'm still here. But a big part of that is attitude is everything. I never let my illness defeat me. I always fight it. And I've had cancer, I've had spinal meningitis, countless pneumonias, I have my blood disease. I've had priests read me my last rites 3 different times,
Wow.
and I'm still here. So it's like, you know, when it's my time, it's my time, but I'm not going to lay down for it. You know, nothing will make me lay down for it. And music has gotten me through all of it. Music is some of the best magic ever created on planet Earth. It can help you get through the worst of times and add joy to your life through the best of times. Everybody has songs that are old that have it comes on the radio, all of a sudden all these memories come back, you know, of the girlfriend you had in high school or whatever. That's how powerful music is. And I consider it an honor to be an entertainer. And the last thing I would ever want to be as a rock star. I have no interest in anything like that. I'm the exact same as the people in my audience, you know. And I consider the stage a sacred place. Every time I walk on a stage, that's in a way my church. And that's a place that I never take for granted, and I never take it lightly. Every time I get to do a concert, I'm grateful, and I give the best show I can. I give it everything I have, because it's an honor for me to look out in the audience and see so many smiling faces and people dancing or jumping or moshing or whatever, because everyone has tough lives out there, and I know this. And for that 2 hours or whatever it is when they come to our show, they get to take a mental vacation away from their sorrows and their pain and their illness and their bills. And that's no small thing for me to get to be a part of, helping them in a way and give them a little mental vacation.
You're a good man, Prophet. I'm really happy talking to you. And I'm talking about Saint Madness. 2018 marked the last release of Bloodless Capex, and what has been happening with Saint Madness after that?
We've just been playing a ton of shows, and mostly here in Arizona, because touring is so expensive anymore. And see, we're on our own record label. We created the record label back in 1994. It's called Nasty Brick Records.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, see, Saint Madness originally was known as Crown of Thorns. And after, from 93 to 97, we were Crown of Thorns. In 97, we found out that there was a Christian rock group in New Jersey that had trademarked the name back in 91. So that was 2 years before we even started using it. So we knew we had no chance at suing them for the name. We would lose.
Yes.
So we had to come up with a new name for the band. And mind you, we already had 2 records out. I don't know how many different kinds of t-shirt designs and 8x10s and posters and stickers and everything that said Crown of Thorns. Now we have to change everything. The album we had out at the time was called The Spiritual Visions of Saint Madness. So Margie and I got with an entertainment attorney, and we did a worldwide search to see if anybody had owned the name Saint Madness, and nobody did. So we instantly trademarked it, and it was thousands of dollars to trademark it. But we own the name, and we've been that ever since. Now, the reason why I bring this up is the record label name Nasty Brick Records is because we were called Crown of Thorns, and I wanted a label name that would kind of go with that. So a thorn will give you a nasty prick. And I knew everybody would take it the opposite way, and that's why I did it. Everything in Saint Madness is about good and evil, because it's about the human experience. Human beings are all capable of great good or great evil. So in our albums, we deal with those issues. So some of our albums, our songs are really scary and dark. Some of them are about sex. Some of them are funny. Some of it, it's all the gambit of different emotions.
Yeah.
So that's why our logo says Saint Madness, and it has a 667 in the middle, because 666 is the number of the beast. We're 667. We're across the hall. It's a little bit of humor. And then on one side we have a skull with the halo, and on the other side we have a skull with the devil horns. And that goes with our music. It's about good and evil. So that's what our band is about.
Yeah, yeah. And you used to say, let's do evil in a fun way.
Yeah. Well, see, our slogan is we make evil fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about show business. It's not about, when people take us more serious than we are, I kind of laugh at that, because I'm like, like back in the day when Ozzy came out and he was in Black Sabbath, people were really afraid because they thought these guys are really devil worshippers. Ozzy was raised a Christian, but Geezer was the one who suggested to the band. They were rehearsing one day and they looked across the street and there was a movie theater, and there was a Boris Karloff movie that was called Black Sabbath. And Geezer said to the band, wouldn't it be cool if we started writing like some evil, dark, scary music? And they all agreed, because they were called Earth at the time, and they were a blues band. Black Sabbath was a blues band.
Yeah.
So they changed their name to Black Sabbath. Lo and behold, they went huge. But the reason why they all wore those big silver crosses back then
Mhm.
is because they were scared.
Wow.
They were afraid. So Tony Iommi's father made these silver crosses for each band member to protect them. It's show business. That's all it is. People used to think St. Madness were devil worshippers, and I was kind of glad they did, because that meant we were doing our job. You know, if you go see a Freddy Krueger movie, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah,
you expect to get scared, right?
definitely.
But
Yeah,
if you meet him in the grocery store, you don't hold it against him that he played Freddy Krueger. It's show business.
absolutely.
Prophet on stage is a character that when I'm at home, I'm just Patrick. I'm just a regular Joe like everybody. People, it's good. If we make people happy, it's good.
Yeah,
And give people into our shows, like I said, it's a vacation from their lives, and we just want them to let go and have fun.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, are you writing any songs for Saint Madness as of now?
Your brother, can you hear me?
There's a little. I think there's a weak signal. I believe
You're
in your end. Yeah, yeah.
not moving. I see you, but
Yeah, because voice is little, it's not the signal was not coming up good.
yeah, because I can't hear you either. It's cutting in
Yeah.
and out. Okay, you just moved a little bit.
Okay.
I hear you better.
Yeah, I can hear it too. I can hear it now.
You're kind of frozen. Your image is frozen.
Um, uh, Here it shows like your network bandwidth is low, so I'm not sure what's. So is it because of the network internet connectivity or something?
Yeah, now it's getting better. I can see
Yeah,
you moving.
yeah, yeah. Good, good, good. So I was asking you, like, are you writing any songs for Saint Madness now, or you have any plans for another album with Saint Madness?
Yes, yes, we do. We already have two brand new songs written, and one of them's called "A Time for Reflection,"
Mhm.
and it's kind of about things going on in the world, um, the way I perceive it as a songwriter. And the second one is called "My Music Manifesto,"
Mhm.
and that song lyrically is my way of saying goodbye to all the fans of St. Madness. In a couple of years, we're going to hit 30-year anniversary. And I'm thinking very strongly about retiring the band after that. But we'll see. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's 30 years is a long time.
yeah,
And I've had a great time the whole time. But I don't want to keep singing heavy metal to the point where people in the audience are going, I wish he would have retired 5 years ago when he was still good or whatever. And I don't have any problem singing any of our songs live now, but I don't want to wait too long either. I don't want to get to the point where I'm shaky and then people are disappointed and all that. I'd rather be able to walk away with my head held high.
absolutely.
So we'll just have to see, but we're definitely going to have one more album. Whether or not there'll be anything after that, I really don't know. That's kind of why I started the Prophet and the Cowboys albums. Is I just turned 59 years old last Thursday,
Oh,
and singing heavy metal music takes a lot out of me. And again, I'm not on a major label. I don't have a doctor traveling with me. I don't have oxygen. I don't have anything. I do it, I just hold myself up, and I want to do a good job. And some of our music's pretty powerful, and the singing is powerful, and you're putting your whole emotion into it, and it's much more difficult to sing than the Prophet and the Cowboys stuff. So I kind of started the Prophet and the Cowboys stuff with the forethought in mind that someday in the future, I'm going to have to retire from singing the heavy stuff, but I still want to make music. So I thought that's a good way to go.
sounds good. Sounds good. And there are not much of videos that you used to make. So, what is there any particular reason for not making a lot of music videos for Saint Madness?
Actually, there's videos all over YouTube. There's like hundreds, but there's if you're talking about studio videos, studio like MTV quality or whatever,
Yeah,
we have made a few. I can send you some of the links,
yeah,
but there's tons and tons of videos out there. In fact, if you want to look up stuff fun, look up something like Saint Madness Presents Carna Metal 1, 2, and 3, because I put out, and each one is 2 hours long.
Oh,
And it's about our trip traveling on our bus and playing all over and all kinds of crazy stuff and partying. And I still smoke pot. I quit drinking and I quit doing cocaine and stuff like that. But I still smoke weed, and I like it. And it's enough for me. I don't need anything more than that. I'm very happy in my life. But there is lots and lots of videos out there. I mean, for anybody who wants to see what our band is like, just type in ST.Madness in YouTube and or type in the year. If you type in different years, different stuff comes up. But there is a lot of different videos, and if you remind me, I'll send you links to them, and you can check them out.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. And can you tell me how this musical journey has been for you so far?
Well, it's been an amazing ride. I never got rich, but I had a lot of girlfriends, and I kind of got paid with groupies, I guess, and parties and fun, and it's been amazing. I can't complain. We got to play side stage for Van Halen. I've got to play with so many bands that I love and admire and respect. I've got to meet so many cool people throughout my life. And I've got to play, the biggest show we ever played was just over 8,000 people here at the arena here in Phoenix. I've had a good time the whole time. I also, went through rough periods. But the difference between me now and me as a young man, when I was a young man, my goal was to be a rock star and to get rich and famous and just be very successful like everybody. I mean, if you don't go into it with a bit of that thought, I don't know why you're doing it, right? I mean, it's like any business. You want to be successful if you go into it. But the person me now is, like I said, I'm just honored to be an entertainer. It's not about anything else now. It's about, we still make money, we still do okay, but now it's more about, I care about the people in the audience, and that if they're going to bother to spend money to come to our show, I want them to walk away feeling like they got more than their money's worth. I want them to be happy. And if they're happy, then we did our job, and I sleep really well at night, And we've been doing this a long time. We've seen a lot of bands come and go, that they start and they think they're going to take over everything, and 3 years into it, they have a band fight and they break up. And Margie and I decided back in '95 that no matter what happens, we're not giving up Saint Madness. Because before I created Crown of Thorns, which was really 1993, I had done what's called band hopping. I'd be in one band for 6 months, another band for 2 years, another band for a year. And I wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to be able to leave behind a legacy. And I can't leave much of a legacy just hopping from band to band to band.
Yeah.
But so we kept St. Madness together, and lo and behold, we have 11 albums. I've had probably 25 people in the band over those years.
Mm.
But we always kept it going. We always found people that knew the St. Madness sound. So like, if you go through any of our albums, you can see how when we made best of albums, no matter who's playing in the band, they all sound like St. Madness. You know, we learned that early on to get the sound wired, you know, to get that sound nailed down. And then when you get new people, you explain to them, okay, St. Madness plays through Mesa Boogies. I don't have an album where one is Fender and the other one is Marshall and the other one is, no, they're all Mesa Boogies. And I had the same drummer through like 9 albums. So you had the same singer and the same drummer. That helped solidify the sound over and over. And all in all, I thank God for everything that I have and for my band. And, you know I've written a few songs that he probably wouldn't like or wouldn't, I don't think God would agree with, but hopefully he grades on a curve. But I've always been honest with my music. I write what I feel, and I've had a great time, man. It's been wonderful. It's still wonderful even now. We just played a show Friday here in Mesa, Arizona, and it was awesome. It's a lot of people, everybody's singing and jamming and jumping up and down, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate.
It sounds good. It sounds good to me. And what would be the upcoming touring plans for you?
I don't know. We'll probably do like little spot stuff, like go to LA and play a couple shows and come back, and maybe go to Las Vegas and play a couple shows and come back, because we're doing it on our own time. We don't have a booking agent involved. I work as the publicist for St. Madness. So I hook up all the deals that we get. And, usually I have friends in Sacred Reich and in Flotsam and Jetsam, and they're signed to labels. So they have a bit of help with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That I don't have. I just figure it out as I go. And actually between 2000 and 2003, Wiley Arnett, the lead guitar player for Sacred Reich, and me, we started a band called The Human Condition. And we actually put out an EP back in 2003. And it was a real honor working with Wiley. Those guys are on Metal Blade Record now, and they just posted their touring schedule, and they're going to do a world tour and all that. It's really amazing, But it was such an honor to just get to be in a band with him. Another thing that happened to me, and if you don't believe it, that's totally cool, but I'm telling you, it's 100% the truth. In January of 1998, St. Madness got a call from the owner of it was like a rock and roll bar museum here. It would be like what the Whiskey A Go-Go is in LA, the Mason Jar was in Phoenix. So we got a call from the owner, and he said, listen, I know you guys are a weekend headlining band, but my Monday night band canceled on me. Is there any way, as a favor to me, that you would come and play the Jar on Monday? And we said, Franco, of course, we'll do it for you, because he's a good friend. So that Monday night, we played the Mason Jar. And, we didn't expect much. There's 30 people in the whole place, right? So we do our set, everything's fine. After we're done, I'm sitting down smoking a cigar. And back then, I used to drink blood out of a chalice on stage. It was theatrical blood, like in the movies. And I hold it up here and pour it down, and I was covered in blood. A butcher's apron, smoking my cigar. Marge comes up to me all excited, and she said, Pat, you have to come with me right now. Franco's talking to some man, and the man wants to talk to you, and it's serious. I'm like, there's 30 people in here. And when I get up and I start walking towards the bar, Franco, the owner of the bar, cuts me off, and he says, listen to me. This man who wants to talk to you, I know him very well. He's real. and he wants to do something good for you. So you go talk to him. I was like, wow. So I walk up to the bar and this guy holds his hand out and I shake his hand. He said, hello, my name is John Baxter and I manage Rob Halford, which is the singer of Judas Priest, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. And he goes, you got a hell of a band there. And he's talking about St. Madness. And I said, oh, well, thank you. You know, he said, the problem is I'm not looking for a band. And I said, well, what are you looking for? And he looked right at me and said, a singer for Black Sabbath. And instantly I felt all the blood rush out of my legs. And I said, can you repeat that to me? And he said, I'm looking for a vocalist for Black Sabbath. Very few people know, but back in 1997, Rob Halford had actually joined Black Sabbath.
Yes.
And they were planning to do a new album and a world tour. And Rob Halford and Tony Iommi had some kind of falling out. So Rob quit. And he said, Tony and the guys have been auditioning singers for 6 months. They hate them all. But I stood here and watched your show the entire time. You move like Ozzy. You kind of resemble him. Back then I had a lot more hair up here and I didn't have facial hair. And I had round glasses because they were, back then they were called John Lennon glasses.
Yes.
But I looked kind of like Ozzy. And so he said, you know, you kind of resemble him. You sing in his range. Do you think you could sing Black Sabbath music? And I said, yeah, they're one of my favorite bands of all time. He said, would you be interested in auditioning for Black Sabbath?
Wow.
And it was like the whole world stopped at that moment, you know. It was surreal. And I said, yeah, sure. And evidently I guess they were going to do auditions in LA, but John gets on his cell phone at that time. And it was the ones with the antenna. He pulled the antenna out and he called Rob Halford, who was in Los Angeles at the time, right in front of me. He said, Rob, I think I found the guy for the Sabbath gig. I'm talking to him right now. And the whole time I'm standing there, I'm like, this isn't real. Like, you know, I've read about this stuff, but it doesn't happen to me. Anyway, he gets off the phone and he hands me his card. Remember, it was a Monday night. He said, call me Friday and I'll let you know where I'm at with the audition, which was 4 days. So for 4 days, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I was nervous, you know. So I call him on Friday. And I'll always thank him for this. He got right to the point. He said, Pat, you're not going to believe it. And this was January of 1998. He said, Ozzy just agreed to rejoin Sabbath and they're planning a world tour. Nobody saw that because Ozzy hadn't been in Sabbath since 79.
Yes.
So, and it wasn't announced anywhere yet. I knew before anybody, you know, in Arizona. And, you know, half of me was jumping up and down going, Ozzy's back in Sabbath. I can't wait. And the other missed it by that much. And I'm not saying I would have got the audition, but I'm saying to be able to perform one song with those guys.
Yes.
What a huge honor that would have been. But to have Rob Halford's manager even approach me at all was a huge honor. So things happen as they should. The crowd wants Ozzy and Sabbath. They don't want another new singer. So things happened as they should. But boy, it was close. And I tell you, I'll never forget that day.
It's absolutely.
To even be considered for something like that. I mean, I can't tell you what that meant to me.
Absolutely. It's really good to hear this from you, Prophet. Like I
think you're frozen.
lot of information from you today.
You're cutting in and out. I can't really make out what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. So thank you so much for giving me a lot of information today. Like these are new things that I'm hearing. So that's a really good thing. Yeah.
You're cutting out again. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
See me and I'm moving, but frozen.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, but the signal is a bit weak, I believe, like it's not working properly. So, can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay, sounds good. So, can you tell me some of the greatest moments that you had over the years?
Well, the Sabbath, being
Mhm,
approached by Rob Alford's manager, was definitely one of the greatest. We had a 20th anniversary show here in Phoenix
mhm,
back in 2013, and that was just incredible. I had five former members of the band come back and play with us. We played about 2 hours, and the place was full. It was packed, and everybody was happy. Everybody was smiling and partying and singing along. I try to write songs that make people want to sing along with it. And, we play with a lot of death metal and black metal bands and stuff. And I appreciate that music, but most often I can't understand what they're singing at all. It's just a lot of aggression, and it's a very good form of art. But because I'm older, I like to write stuff that people can understand what I'm singing, and if they like it, they can sing along with it. We played at two of the Milwaukee Metalfests,
mhm,
which is it's gone now, but it was a big deal for many years. They have 100 bands from all over the world that come and play it. So we played with Death and Destruction and the Misfits and Merciful Fate and 6 Feet Under, Mortician, Obituary, Iced Earth. We were all in the same festivals together. And it was just really amazing being able to walk around and meet all these different people. And like I said, we've done everything on our own dime the entire time.
yeah.
Nobody did for us but us. We owned our own bus back in the 90s, and we took that across country, and all on our own dime, you know. So it proves that maybe you're not going to become the biggest star or whatever, but if you want to do something and you're willing to work hard, you can do it. And just don't let anybody stop you, not even yourself, because you get those voices that come in your head that
Yes.
say you're not good enough or you're not this or that. And you just have to fight through that stuff. Playing with Van Halen and Monster Magnet was another one. There's an old band from the 70s called Black Oak, Arkansas, and they had a singer named Jim Dandy. And they had a big hit song with the Jim Dandy to the Rescue. I grew up watching him in Black Oak, Arkansas. Tommy Aldridge, who played in Ozzy
Mhm.
and Whitesnake and everything, he originally came from Black Oak, Arkansas band.
Wow.
And so I grew up watching this band, and the singer Jim Dandy was like one of my mentors. He was a regular person. He was from the South, very polite. No rock star in him, even though he was a rock star, but he never presented himself that way. All these years later, in 1998, the owner of the Mason Jar calls me again. He says, "This band, Black Oak, Arkansas, wants to play here. You think I should book them?" And Margie got on the phone. She said, "Oh my God, Franco, you have to let Saint Madness open for them because Pat loves Jim Dandy and his music, and please let us do it." Now you imagine this heavy metal band opening for a Southern rock band. When Leonard Skinner did their first world tour, they were opening for Black Oak, Arkansas.
Wow.
So it was quite a difference, but they still let us do it. And back then we had a bus, and when Black Oak showed up, they had a really nice conversion van and a trailer. They were touring that way. And so Margie sent our crewmen over there and said, "Tell any of the Black Oak guys if they want to come relax on our bus, they're welcome." So we get a knock on the door, and she opens the door, and she's like, "Why, you're Jim Dandy?" He goes, "Yes, ma'am, I am. And one of your crewmen said it would be okay if we relax on your bus." So he came and sat on the bus with me, and he was on there probably about an hour. He's sitting there drinking whiskey and getting drunk. And I got to tell him everything that his music and everything meant to me. And he liked us so much, he gave us his home address, his phone number. And if you go to Black Oak, Arkansas's page, when it says bands that they toured with, he says St. Madness, even though he only played one show with us. But he was so grateful to be able to sit on the bus and everything we told him. He just couldn't have been a nicer guy. And to a guy like me, who was watching him as a kid, and it made such an impact on me, um, it was such an honor to be able to sit with him and tell him, "You're one of the reasons I do this." And I present myself to an audience the way you do. you know, is that we're just, the audience and me are one and the same. There's nobody better, you know, we're the same. We're like a family who love this style of music. And I said, it's because of you that I believe those things. And he was really, really appreciative of that. And there's been so many things over the years. It's like, sometimes it's hard to remember.
Mhm.
But we played with countless nationals. We opened, you know who DRI,
Yeah.
the band DRI?
Yes. Yes, I do.
We opened for them twice, and we let them use all our equipment, all our backlines and everything. And we played with Flotsam and Jetsam, I don't know how many times. We played with Guar, you know Guar.
Yes.
We opened for Guar, and they used all our equipment because they have a show that they do once or twice a year where they perform the Guar music, but they don't wear the outfits. So they'll fly in town and book a show, but they have to rent the gear or whatever.
Mhm.
So the promoter called me, said, Guar's going to be here. They're not playing in their outfits, but do you want to play with them? And I said, well, I tell you what, if Guar's not wearing their outfit, then we're not going to wear face paint. So we did our first show as Saint Madness without face paint, and Guar played on all our stacks and our drums and everything. And like I said, there's just so many things. Like as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna remember other stuff. Oh, I should have told Keith about that and that. But it's really been so much that I forget. And I'll go through photo albums or I'll go online and all of a sudden I'll see photos from someone. I'll be like, my God, I forgot about that. But I've got to live my dream, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm still living it. And the other day, not the other day, this is probably 6 months ago, I hang out at a little cigar shop here. I like cigars. And it was just me and the lady working there. And the door opens and in walks James Hetfield
Wow.
from Metallica. And I look at him and I go, are you James Hetfield from Metallica? And he goes, not today. And I said, okay. And he walked down one of the aisles. He had his back to me. And I said, but you are, huh? He goes, not today. And as he's walking around the shop, I could see him kind of looking over at me. And I got the sense that he felt bad because he was he was here going to drug and alcohol treatment. And he must have had a break or a day off. And so they were going to get some cigars. And, you know, that poor man, everywhere he goes, he probably has people mobbing him, you know. Yeah. And so he probably thought, here I go to this little cigar shop, and right away, as soon as I step in the door, it starts. So I left him alone. And I could see him kind of looking at me. I think he felt bad. So then he came and he sat by me. And it was back when, it was last year, I guess, when the World Series was on. And it was the Astros and someone else. Anyway, he looks over at me and he said, so who are you going for in the World Series? I said, well, the Astros. He goes, yeah, me too. And then he got up and left. And it was so cool, though. I mean, it was so friggin' cool, man. He's tall. I had no idea. He's like 6'4". I'm 6 foot, and he's tall. And but it was just the coolest thing ever, man, to look up and see James Hetfield buying cigars. I didn't even know he smoked cigars.
It's interesting to hear. Interesting to hear.
Little stuff like that's happened to me my whole life.
Yeah.
You know? Although what's funny is Rob Halford lives here in Phoenix, and so does Alice Cooper. And I've never met either one of them. I met Rob's manager, but I never met Rob, and I've never met Alice Cooper. And Alice Cooper's the godfather of what St. Madness does, which is theatrical shock rock or shock metal.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Alice Cooper, there would be no Kiss. There would be none of them. So I have to meet him someday just so I can shake his hand and say thank you.
That would be awesome. It'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Yep. And Prophet, thank you for giving amazing music through Saint Madness and through Prophet.
It's cutting in and out again.
It's still my voice is still breaking?
Yeah, it started breaking again.
So I was saying thank you for giving music to the world through Saint Madness and through Prophet and the Cowboys. So thank you so much for all the things you are doing for the music fraternity. And thank you so much for giving me the time today. And finally, what would be the message for the fans?
My message for the fans is long live the fans of metal music. And without you, there is no rock bands or rock stars or entertainers. You're the lifeblood for what we do. And I say thank you.
It's awesome, Prophet. And Prophet, thank you so much for giving me the time today to talk to you. And this was really a pleasure to know about a lot of things and know about your music and to share a lot of things with you. Thank you so much for your time today, Prophet. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Keith. It's my honor to be here. And send me your address and I'll send you some records.
So, absolutely. Thank you so much, Prophet.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You have a good night. Take care. Bye bye.
You too. Bye-bye.